Okay, welcome to video number 3. This video is going to be all about my budget build, okay? My budget build for the backcountry hunter. Again, that's going to give you the most success and be the rifle that I think that, if you were going to build a rifle that gave you shootable ability, that gave you long range capability, gave you accuracy, and gave you a rifle that is really easy to pack, this would be exactly how I would build it. So, starting off with the rifle, it's a Tikka. It's a Tikka T3, T3X. It's in 7 Rem Mag. These rifles, for the price, are unbeatable. Okay. Usually, you can find them for brand new around $799, maybe $850. Used, you can find them from $500 up. I always recommend getting the stainless version, especially if you're going to be doing backcountry hunting. But again, this rifle fits all of my criteria. It comes in with a scope and bipod, maybe around 8.5 pounds. It's incredibly accurate with factory ammo, Hornady ammo. I can get probably 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch groups, which is right within my criteria of accuracy. But most importantly, it's just a really simple, no frills rifle that's just accurate and consistent. Okay, I've probably had 10 or 12 different people I know that have purchased this gun, that have shot lots of rounds down it, and it just is accurate for everybody. Everybody has a lot of success with it. Now, to add to that, from shooting competitions, lots of guys use the actions to build their custom rifles off of. So it's got that going for it as well. Some of the things that I've done to it to really get it to where it's going to be capable in the backcountry are, the first thing is I do adjust, or I do put a trigger spring on the rifle when I first get it. So with these Tikkas, they do have a really good factory trigger to start off with, right out of the box. It's probably around 3.5 to 4 pounds. It's really, it doesn't have a lot of creep to it or anything like that. You get on the trigger, you start pulling, and it breaks kind of like a glass rod would. But what you can do is if you spend 20 or 30 bucks, you can buy a trigger spring. It's really easy to install. It drops it all the way down to probably 1.5 to 2 pounds. Just makes it a little bit more user friendly and a little bit easier to shoot when you're actually shooting groups. So I usually do that to all these Tikkas, is put a trigger spring in them. You can go online and find those. The second thing that I do with this Tikka build is a Picatinny rail. You can get that from, I think it's Mountain Tactical, just a 0 MOA base Picatinny rail. You can also get them from Area 419. They make one as well. Usually they're going to run you around 70 to 80 bucks. But again, that's what I run on all of mine. They seem to work really, really well. As far as the rings, these are Tally Mountain Tech rings, I believe they are. They're pretty light. Everything I build is based on the weight of it. So, I was definitely looking at the weight when I bought these. They've been really, really good. I think they're around $100. Again, but they're really light rings. They're not super bulky. They're a 2-piece ring. And then most importantly is the scope itself. So the scope itself is a Razor HD LHT. It's the Vortex's 3.5 to 15 backcountry kind of style hunting scope. So far, it's been a really great scope. It's got great magnification. It's 3 to 15, so usually most of my shots are happening between 12 and 15 power. Very rarely am I going to go above that, even if my scope has the ability to do so. But most importantly to me, it's got a couple features that I love. The first is it's got lockable turrets. Okay, so anybody who's hunted long enough, especially with a turreted scope, knows that it's always possible for the scope to get the turret to get twisted around, okay? Especially when you're in brush or you're bumping up against things, or your gun's in your case, or you're on a horse, or whatever it may be. It's really easy for this turret to get moved around, and sometimes it's easy to forget where you are. And when you grab the scope and you get on an animal, you forget to dial back to your 100-yard zero. So, for me, having a lockable turret where it doesn't move until I'm ready for it to move is a really, really big feature. The second feature that's huge for me is that this has actually capped windage. Okay, so the windage turret, unlike some scopes where you can bump it like you could the vertical one, your windage turret is completely capped. So no matter what I do, the only time this is ever going to be adjusted is if I actually take the cap off and adjust it. So that's a huge feature to me. It's just that peace of mind of knowing, in the back of my head, that I don't ever have to think about that when I get on the gun and I'm looking at an animal or I'm looking at a target, whatever it may be. I'm not thinking about, did my windage get bumped? Did my vertical get bumped? Okay. The other thing, and this again is really important, that whole picture of a backcountry gun, is the weight of the scope. Okay, I think this scope, I'd have to double check, but it comes in like around 19 ounces or 20 ounces. Extremely light. Okay, compared to all the other scopes in the market, this really is best of class when it comes to getting a scope that's got, you know, turrets, it's got a great reticle, and it also gets that weight factor in there. You can get scopes that are equal weight, but most of them are not turreted, okay? Which means that, you know, you're going to be either holding over the animal, or you're not even, you know, you're not even going to have hash marks inside. It's just going to be a simple duplex. So, you know, having the lightweight feature on there, or it being a lightweight scope, is really, really important to me as well. And then the final thing is the reticle. Okay, this is the HSR 5i reticle. Super simple. Okay, it's a really basic reticle. You know, the thing that it has that I love, it's got a floating dot. So you guys that are out there shooting groups or getting your scopes dialed in for hunting season or competition season, whatever, you know how much a floating dot, or how nice a floating dot is for adjusting zero or for shooting groups. I love a floating dot. I think that's really important with the scope. It really helps me, gives me confidence that when I get my zero, you know, it's dialed in. I just like them in general. So again, that's kind of the basics of this gun. Now, you know, like I said, when I'm out shooting with this, with factory ammo, I can achieve probably, you know, close to half-minute groups, maybe just a little bit bigger, maybe, you know, 0.7 inch groups at 100 yards. So, you know, again, it's really hard to beat that. And then when you talk about the fact that, you know, scope is going to be around, or rifle's going to be around 800, scope plus rings plus base, you're probably another 1,000 or so, and then the bipod, you're 80 bucks or 90 bucks. You know, you can stay under $2,000 with this hunting rifle, and it's going to be kind of, you know, the most bang for your buck, in my opinion. Now, for sure, you can go cheaper, right? Vortex has cheaper scopes than this. You can buy a Ruger American for 400 bucks and get cheaper. But for me personally, like, if you're going to invest time into this sport, but you still want to be on a budget, this to me is hard to beat. You wouldn't be giving up much of anything with this rifle setup. Again, super accurate, super packable, and actually still pretty shootable, okay? Not as shootable as like a custom rifle, but still, like the stock, the way it's designed, the way your hand's gonna fit on the scope, or on the stock, and the way your palm's gonna fit around the forend there. Again, it's really hard to beat for under 2,000 bucks. So anyway, that's my budget gun. Again, it's gonna come in under $2,000. I would get it in 7 Rem mag. You know, they also make, you know, if you can find a 300 short mag, great. If you can find a 6.5 Creedmoor, also great. I prefer the 300 or the 7 Rem mag, but that's my setup right there. I've seen many animals taken with this exact style setup, and I think it is really hard to beat. I don't think you're missing or losing much with this setup. So that's kind of what that looks like.